As a screenwriter, I am absolutely in love with The Office. I watch it on repeat any time that I can. But in my 57th rewatching of the show, I began to notice some interesting themes that the show explores. I saw that Michael Scott is more concerned with the well-being of people than he is with the rigid corporate demands of profit-making. Then I had a crazy thought. Is The Office socialist propaganda? My name is Zimranjacob. I'm a screenwriter living in LA. I've worked in a few writers' rooms for major television shows, and I have my own feature setup. I love thinking about the themes I see in movies and shows. The Office is a heartwarming tale of love and friendship in a small paper company, but it also peppers in the idea that people are more important than profit. But is this running theme indicative of a larger economic philosophy? To start, we must first begin with some definitions. Capitalism is defined as an economic system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit. The Office clearly fits within these parameters, right? But wait, Michael Scott oftentimes forgoes the profit motive for the sake of happiness of the people in the office. He hosts the Dundies, throws party after expensive party, supports a union, and even kisses Oscar to prove he's not homophobic, which results in a large corporate settlement. Michael goes further than that. Michael often includes the office in on sensitive information in an effort to be honest with them.
Dunder Mifflin Scranton is being shut down.
Michael, we shouldn't be talking about this until all the decisions have been made.
You knew about this all along, didn't you?
Jan told me just a few minutes before she told you.
Traitor.
Never,
David,
never, ever.
David, you are on speakerphone with the entire branch and the warehouse.
Hey, David.
Hey, David.
Happy holidays, David. Hi, everyone.
When he starts the Michael Scott Paper Company, he gives ownership to his fellow workers and lets them share directly in the profits. While there is some profit sharing and even some stockholdership among workers in a capitalist society, these ideas lend themselves to the philosophy of, yes, socialism. Now, without getting into the differences between Marx, Engels, Lenin, Trotsky, and other philosophers of this ideology, socialism is a system where the means of production, distribution, and exchange are owned or regulated by the community as a whole. Similarly, communism, a form of socialism, is broadly defined as an economic ideology whose ultimate goal is the establishment of a socio-economic order structured upon the ideas of common ownership of the means of production and the absence of social classes. Common ownership. Michael Scott Paper Company is a workers' cooperative, a worker-owned, relatively democratic company where the workers make decisions on major company actions such as the sale of the company and deal terms.
Agreed?
Great.
Absence of social classes. Before discussions of forming a union at Dunder Mifflin, Michael Scott famously said,
Now, you may look around and see two groups here. White collar, blue collar. But I don't see it that way. You know why not? Because I am colorblind.
a clearly anti-classist message. He also repeatedly calls the office his family. The modern philosophy of the left is defined by the mantra, people over profit. The common fear is that the profit motive has priority over the interests of people in general. On my 57th viewing of the series, I could not help but find people over profit messages in the show. In an episode titled The Client, Michael befriends a client before offering him a discount to close a sale.
By your own employees' calculation, you'll be obsolete in the next 5 to 10 years.
Wait, Ryan said that?
In the episode Business School, Michael, after being criticized and humiliated by Ryan, who says Dunder Mifflin is a doomed business, famously says,
People will never go out of business.
In The Surplus, Michael lets the office decide to spend the previous year's surplus on new chairs, when Michael could have kept the profits for himself. The show is critical of employment relationships and bosses in general. Michael is an inappropriate buffoon. Jan is a hot-tempered lunatic. Charles Minor is an impersonal bully. Gabe is an ineffectual, redundant pushover. Joe is a capricious egoist. Ryan is a petty narcissist. Robert California is, how do I put this, an insane weirdo? Pretty much every boss except for David Wallace, the most patient boss in the universe, is shown in a negative light. So is The Office designed to convince people of the moral justifications of a socialist ideology? Like all questions about the politics of art, the answer is up for interpretation. There are also capitalist messages in the show. The Deposition highlights Michael's loyalty to his employing company over his relationship with Jan. In Boys and Girls, talks of unionizing are crushed and never brought up again. In The Whistleblower, Andy is shunned as he alerts the media that Saber's printers catch on fire, ostensibly hurting Saber's profits. The larger question is there an economic structure which is best for the well-being of the people as a whole? Most economies are what is known as mixed economies, but certain countries lean left or right. The Nordic countries are known as social democracies, which are capitalistic yet still have strong safety nets and solid base pay. A Danish McDonald's employee makes at minimum $20 an hour, compared to the average wage of $8.90 an hour for the American McDonald's worker. Vladimir Lenin, Soviet politician and theorist, said, "The working class spontaneously gravitates towards socialism. Nevertheless, the most widespread and continuously and diversely revived bourgeoisie ideology spontaneously imposes itself on the working class to still a greater degree. That means that any critical study of an office structure, whether it's the office, swimming with sharks, or office space, is going to lead to socialistic ideas. Nonetheless, the show does not make an affirmative judgment on these issues, and is therefore not propaganda in the traditional sense. It is clear that Michael Scott is not a socialist. He is a boss, and the employer-employee relationship is key to capitalism. Nonetheless, his ideals have socialistic ideas underlying them. He often puts his people before profit. He cares about his employees and thinks of the office as a big family. He shares profits, surpluses, information, and decision-making responsibilities with his employees. He thinks of his office as a community. But what do you think? Please leave a comment, and if you like this video, like, share, subscribe, and keep watching.